And last time when we're talking about death, we're talking about samsara, which is a very basic concept of the Buddhist teaching. And I haven't really finished it, so I would like to carry on with the discussion since we're talking about death, rebirth and death. Rebirth, death, samsara, reincarnation, karma, all these are actually the basic knowledge that's contained in the Buddhist teaching that we should know about. We have been going through reincarnation. The time horizon of every sentient being, of every one of us, will have a past, a present, and a future. Horizontally, we have past, present, and future. And vertically, we have this body occupying space. So, past is not just last year, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, or the time when you were in your mother's womb. Past relates also to previous lives. That's a very basic concept that not only is believed by Buddhist followers, but also believed by many other religions. We have a past lives. We don't only have this life. The time horizon is a continuation. And we have been reborn and reborn and reborn again. A lot of cases about that in reincarnation. If you really want to study more about this case, these kind of cases about reincarnation, go into the internet by Stevenson. Many cases about reincarnation. So I already have talked about that. So why do we have to go through samsara? Samsara is a Sanskrit word for journeying or continuous movement or cycling. So we have been continuously been reborn and reborn and reborn again and again. We may not know about it, but that's what we've been doing. We go through samsara, life and death. So rebirth and samsara of sentient beings according to the good or evil actions in the previous lifetime. You carry the karma with you to the reincarnation process. And who determines karma? Nobody. It's the natural course. If you're standing over there and I'm catching a ball in here and I throw that ball to you, the natural course of that ball is getting to you. It won't go that way. It won't go this way. Why did the ball go that way? It's a natural course. It's a natural tendency. It's a natural movement. Is it God who determines that that ball should go that way? So the cause of pushing that ball to over there, being caught by somebody, if that's the effect, there's a cause here and there is an effect over there. We call it causality. And of course, causality has to come true when all the conditions fulfill. Which means that if I throw this ball to you over there, and if there's another person standing in the middle, and while you're throwing the ball, he punched the ball will not be received by him, the ball will go that way. Because the conditions change. If I'm not strong enough when I'm throwing this ball, I'm very weak. The conditions for me throwing this ball is not fulfilled, then the ball may drop halfway. So there's a lot of conditions that make these things happen. It's a conglomeration of conditions. It itself does not have any real essence, real reality. So if there's a gong over there, if somebody hit the gong, dong, the sound is produced. The reason why that sound is produced is because of many conditions. There's a stick, there's a gong in there, somebody hitting it, strong enough to hit it, and the sound vibrates. You're not deaf, you hear it. And all these conditions fulfill for the sound to be traveling everywhere. There's causality, there's conditions. It's a conditioned action. And in the Buddhist teaching, the Buddha called this conglomeration of conditions causality. It does not have its own nature. In other words, the sound itself does not have its own nature, which means that the sound depends on many conditions to be produced. We call it emptiness. We call it sunyata, conglomeration of conditions only. Don't think that that sound is real. That sound is delusively traveling to you. It's not real, it's just conditions fulfilled. We call it emptiness because of all these conditions. It itself has no essence to it. If it itself has a reality, has an essence, has its own nature, it could produce a sound without anybody happening to it, without anyone striking it. If the gong produces sound by its own intention, by its own mastering it, if it is a God that it can produce it, then it does not need conditions. But it's not true. It needs conditions to produce that sound. If that sound is produced without needing any conditions, that is the real gong. But isn't that didn't happen? That wouldn't happen. So nothing in this world has its own essence and reality. It's a conglomeration of a lot of causes and conditions to be fulfilled. But we attach to things. We don't think that it's conditioned. We think that it's real, it's true, it's permanent. So we attach to them. And when we attach to them, we're not free. We create karma. And when we die, with the karma, we roll into the next reincarnation because all these conditions haven't finished. You have done all these causes that push you to another cycle. You can't get away from it. Not God who determined it. It's the natural course, the natural conditions fulfilled that pushes down there. That pushes you to hell, that pushes you to the animal realm, that pushes you to the human realm, the ghost realm, Asura's realm, and Deva's realm. You make your own world. You create your own destiny. You watch out on your mind, your actions, your speech. All these create karma, and this karma carry you to what you should go. Nobody, not God. You create your own destiny. What is responsible for rebirth? Karma. It's a Sanskrit word. It's your actions, your speeches and thoughts of the present lives that have become latent energies for the reincarnation. Somebody would like to call it energy. You can't see energy, but it's there. Not just action, not just speech. Every thought generates from your mind produces that energy. Not just the action itself, not just the speech itself that have been produced. So watch your thought. If you think hard enough, you do it. You think that I'm going to hurt that person. You think that you're going to kill. You're going to lie. You're going to steal. If you think hard enough, you will perform it. Because you're reinforcing yourself with all these conditions to make it happen. So you watch out your mind. The mind is really very powerful. It depends on how you make it. It depends on how positive you are, how negative you are. From the moral point of view, from the morality point of view, depends on whether you've used your mind on good terms or in bad terms. When we reincarnate with our karma, we suffer. Once we reincarnate, and we talk about this all the time, we can classify 8 kinds of suffering: birth, aging, sickness, death, suffering arising from separation from beloved ones, suffering arising from living with hated ones, suffering arising from insatiable desires resulting in sorrow, lamentation, grief, pain, grief, and despair. In short, attachment to the 5 skandhas result in the multiplicity of suffering. We'll talk about that, so we just rush it through for this slide. This is related to the individual, internally, to you. How about outer suffering, external? Lots of them. Natural disasters, wars, as I mentioned last time, genocide, war, killing millions and millions of people, murder, racial discrimination that leads to genocide, and natural disasters, tsunami, earthquake. Millions of people die. You try to be happy all the time, but you're not. You're fooling yourself if you think that, oh, I have limitation, I have sorrow, I have sickness, I have death, and I'm happy. I'm all the time happy. You're cheating yourself. You try to be happy. Nobody wants to be sad. But in the process of creating what you call happiness, are you hurting someone? Are you being egoistic? And in the process of doing it, you're creating another karma. Why do we have suffering? We mentioned that we have desire. Desire that contaminates your mind, leading to suffering and samsara. And we said that desire is not totally bad, you know. Some desire are good desire and some are bad desire. If your desires are craving for wealth, reputation, and status and power, if your desire is attachment to personal views and obstinacy, if your desire is just to further your sensuality, your sensual pleasures that relate to your six senses, your sensory organs, you're looking only for sensuality. From the moral point of view, there's not a good desire. That kind of desire morally creates bad karma. On the other hand, if you have a desire to purify your mind, relating to enlightenment and nirvana, relating to the Bodhisattva's way, to long for discovery of wisdom and deliverance from suffering, your desire to achieve enlightenment, your desire to be out of samsara, your desire to help, to be compassionate, to help your folks to get out from samsara, that's the kind of good desire. We must have good desire. We need the good desire to achieve. We need the good desire to stimulate your mind to achieve enlightenment. If an individual has absolutely no desire, he will be very bored. He will not have any wisdom. He will just stay there doing nothing. And even staying there doing nothing is bad for you. That's the desire of doing nothing, which is laziness and sluggishness, and not looking for improvement, not looking for enlightenment. So you may as well call yourself a dead person without any desires for anything. And karma is an accumulation of actions in body, speech, and mind. Simply put, you will reap what you have sowed. We are the result of what we are, we were, and we will be the result of what we are now. So in other words, there's a good saying saying that you have to give up who you are in order to become what you will be. If you always have that kind of bad habit, bad personalities, if you are always selfish, how can you achieve enlightenment? You have to give up who you are, all those bad habits. Give up who you are in order to achieve what you will be, to enlightenment. How many people are willing to do that though? We're so much used to our own habits. The Dhammapada said all that we are is a result of what we have thought, acted, and spoken. Karma is the law of cause and effect. The pain and happiness we experience are the result of our own deeds, words, and thoughts reacting on themselves. So all this kind of karma have three categories. It's either wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral karma, different kinds of karma. And if we take from the standpoint of morality, we say that the karmic energy, good karma is compassion, motivation, enthusiasm, diligence, and perseverance, just to name a few. And bad karma, depression, self-denial, selfishness, animal-like behavior, drug abuse, and unwilling to change, laziness, and irresponsibility. Only give a few examples. Good karma and bad karma. And because of all this karma that pulls us down to reincarnations, where would we go to? Will I be a human again? Or will I be a saint? Or will I be going to the animal realm? It depends on how you practiced it. We call it the six wellings. It's heavenly beings, asuras, human beings, spirits, animals, and hell realms. The six wellings. And the four sages, if you practiced and get out from samsara, then you are Srodapana, Sakritagaman, Anagaman, Arahats. Srodapana, stream enterer, you enter into the enlightenment path. After a lot of practice, we've been practicing it also. But you still need to go back 7 times, a few times to reincarnation to polish up, to further your studies and enlightenment and practice before you become the Arhat, which was out of samsara. Another higher stage is once returner, you return to the world once approximately, but you still have to go back to carry out your karmic energy because it's the natural course. And then Anagamit is you don't have to return to this world of desire. You go into another next world, which is a higher level world. Arahat is no more learning. That means no more reincarnations. All these in the Buddha's teaching, how to achieve this in detail. So get into the internet if you want to know more about it, how to practice so that you can get out of reincarnation. These are the 4 sages. Then specifically we say, why do we have bad desires? What happened to us when we create bad karma? Why did I create bad karma? What drives me to do something wrong? Something not wrong, something wholesome, sometimes unwholesome. What's involved in my daily life that I perform all this bad karma or good karma? Why do I always looking for sensuality sometimes? Not sometimes, all the time we're looking for sensuality. In other words, how do we react to our environments in the process of doing it? How do we create karma? Can you tell me in detail what's the process of me in creating naturally karma? When you are surrounded by environments, you react and respond. The sane will respond to it, but the insane will just react to it. There's a difference. To respond to it is with reason. To react to it is without reason, with emotions. How do we react? When our eyes look at material, eye consciousness is created. When I look at you, I have a seeing consciousness. And in this seeing consciousness, once it is created, at the same time, simultaneously, my 6 senses correspond to it and create images, create memory, create views on you. I label you, I stereotype you. All these eye consciousness is created. Ears correspond to sound. You listen to the sound, you like this music, you don't like this music. You like this praises about you, you don't like this criticism about you. You want to do something about it because that consciousness is created, and in the process of creating this consciousness, mental functions are also created at the same time. It happened within flashes of a second. You may not realize it. All the jealousy, all the hatred and disappointment and anger are created within fraction of a second, and you don't even realize it. Only the saint would know. Why? Because the saint, through long periods of meditation, they know every thought that comes up in the mind. Why do we meditate? Why do we say the breath in and out? We have to think about every thought. We have to know every thought, how it arises, how it maintains its status, and how it disintegrates, how another thought rises again. We want to know every thought. When you know every thought is under your control, then your senses are under your control. Right now, not every thought is under your control. And we do volitional speeches and volitional actions to carry out what our tainted mind wants us to do. The tongue tastes, and then we have mind, which react to everything. Sometimes we don't need environments. We create environments in our mind. So in other words, we close our eyes, we shut our ears, we're not tasting anything, we're not touching anything. You create your own images in your own mind when you close your mind. I create anything within the realm of my mentality. You don't need environments outside. You create your own environments within, and that's the most powerful, that's the most dangerous. And that one, you don't need environments to pollute. You're polluting yourself every fraction of a second. So you create your own mano consciousness. So you have, we call it the 5 skandhas. You have material, perception, conception, volition, and consciousness. And when we have all this reaction, you think that your eyes just see, your ears listen, your tongue tastes, your nose smell, and that's it? No. As I said, in every fraction of a second, There are all these mental functions that help to carry out your thinking. Concurrent mental functions. Good ones too. You're shameful, you're bashful. Oh, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't be lazy. I shouldn't blame my mom. All these are good ones. Absence of ignorance, energy, repose of mind, equanimity. You like peacefulness, non-injury. You don't want to hurt any people. You want to have the right understanding. You're always considerate. You also perform good thought. You also have good thoughts arising in you. 11 of them usually. But 26 of them are bad. We have more bad mental functions than good ones. These are just the general outlines. So you have greediness, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, especially arrogance, because of their self-respect. They have very high arrogance. They think that they are the best. They want to appear to be the best because they always want to be better than the others. Doubt, false view, anger, enmity, concealment, concealing your bad points and revealing your good points to people. Afflictions, envy, parsimony, negligence, forgetfulness, pride, fraudulence, shamelessness, remorselessness, restlessness, low-spiritedness, unbelief, sloth, injury, distraction, non-discernment, deception. The Buddha only point out a few points to you. This is all in the Buddha's teaching. You know how many of them should be? According to Yogacara Bhumi, that is 660 that we can identify about mental functions. And then there's another Bodhisattva who summarized the 660 of these things into 100. And that's why we have the 100 Dhammas. If you Google, if you get into the internet and get into the 100 Dhamma, you have 100 of these things that comes up in our mind that we should watch out for. Do you know about them? Or you don't care, you just look for wealth and reputation. What do I care about how my mind works? You want to talk about psychology. The Buddha's teaching is a very profound psychology. It gets into detail. 660 of these. And some summarize it into 100. And all these mental functions arises at the same time when you are reacting to environments. Because you're reacting with all these. We call these the officers in the government, in the government of your mind. All these officers help you to carry out your volitional actions, your speeches, your thoughts. And these are bad officers and good officers, some bad and some good.